Have you ever felt something change in your body? Something small but noticeable? A little ache, a forgotten name, or that sudden wave of exhaustion that lingers longer than usual? At first, it's easy to brush it off as just getting older, right? But what if these little shifts are more than just aging? What if there are signs your body is trying to tell you something bigger, something you can still change? Take Joe, for example. He's 67, always active and full of energy. But lately, no matter how much he rests, he feels drained. He tells himself, it's just aging. But deep down, he's starting to wonder if it's more than that. Then there's Frank, same age, but he's still full of energy, keeping up with his usual activities. So, what's the difference? The truth is, there are subtle signs in your body that can predict how you'll age, and they often show up quietly. These signs might seem small, but they can add up to faster aging if ignored. What if you could catch them early? What if you could slow things down before they take a bigger toll? In today's video, I'm going to reveal 6 signs you might be missing and why they matter. These signs aren't just about getting older, they're clues that give you the power to take control. By the end, you'll understand what these changes mean and how small actions now can make a huge difference. So stay with me, because what's coming next might just change how you see aging. Let's dive in and uncover the signs your body has been trying to tell you all along. Joe, 67, was always the kind of guy who didn't need a gym membership. His garden was his workout. He'd wake up before sunrise, energized and ready to tackle the day. His neighbors always admired how active he was, the guy who never seemed to slow down. But lately, something started to feel off. Joe would wake up, stretch his arms, and feel a wave of exhaustion hit him before he even made it out of bed. No matter how much sleep he got, his body felt like it was running on empty. The energy he once had was slipping away slowly but surely, and with every passing day, Joe's frustration grew. Was this just what happens when you get older? He couldn't help but wonder if he was losing the spark that made him feel alive. It's so easy to brush this off, isn't it? You're just getting older, they say, or you can't expect to have the same energy at 67 as you did at 27. Joe thought it was just a sign of aging, something he had to accept. But here's the thing. What if we're wrong about this? What if we've been told to accept fatigue as inevitable, when really it could be our body's way of asking for something different? Most of us laugh it off, thinking it's normal, but by doing so, we miss the chance to truly listen and understand what our body needs. Do you recognize that feeling? Maybe you've noticed, just like Joe, that getting through the day isn't as easy as it used to be. It's not a big dramatic change, it's more like a creeping fog that settles in without warning. You used to feel like you could take on the world, but now even the smallest tasks seem like mountains to climb. The truth is, this shift in energy isn't just a normal part of aging. It's a sign your body is trying to tell you something. As we get older, our metabolism slows, our muscles lose strength, and even the energy we once took for granted becomes harder to tap into. But what Joe didn't realize, and what many of us fail to see, is that this isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. Joe's energy wasn't just fading. His sense of self was too. His once vibrant mornings now felt like a daily battle. He started avoiding his old hobbies, things that used to bring him joy, like gardening and walking his dog. His frustration turned into sadness. This wasn't just about tiredness. It was about losing the connection to the vibrant person he used to be. It's easy to ignore the first signs of fatigue, but when we do, we risk losing more than just energy. But here's the beautiful part. It's never too late to turn things around. Joe doesn't need to run a marathon to regain his energy. It's about small, simple changes, things that don't require drastic efforts, but make all the difference. A gentle morning stretch, a short walk around a block, drinking more water, eating meals that fuel your body instead of drain it, prioritizing rest, real, deep, rejuvenating rest. Joe might also find that breaking up his day with light activities could restore his energy. And if he's been under stress, focusing on calming practices like deep breathing or mindfulness could help his body regain its balance. Sometimes we think we've lost something when really we just need to invite it back into our lives with patience and care. Mary, 72, had always been the go-to person in her family when it came to remembering things. Birthdays, anniversaries, important details, nothing slipped her mind. She had a sharp memory that made her proud. But recently, something started to change. One morning, she couldn't remember where she put her keys. Then, it was the name of the book she was reading last week. Then, she started forgetting words in the middle of sentences. At first, she thought it was a fluke, just a stressful day or too many things on her mind. But then it happened again and again. Why is this happening? She wondered, the unease creeping in. She asked her husband, John, do you think I'm losing it? So many of us laugh it off, thinking, it's just old age, I guess. When Mary noticed the memory lapses, she tried to dismiss them. It's nothing, she told herself. But here's the truth. Too many of us do the same thing. We brush off these little moments as just getting older, when in fact, they might be the first signs that we're not giving our brains the care they need. Sometimes we get so busy with life that we don't realize how much stress, lack of sleep, or poor nutrition can impact our mental clarity. Memory loss isn't always something that happens overnight. It's a slow drift, and if we ignore it, it might drift even further. For Mary, every forgotten name felt like a personal failure. She felt more isolated, more disconnected from her world. Memory is not just about facts. It's about the emotional bonds we share with people. When Mary forgot her daughter's birthday, it wasn't just about the date. It felt like she was losing a part of her connection with her family. The emotional weight of losing those memories was heavy, and it made her feel more vulnerable and unsure of herself. But here's the empowering part. Memory loss doesn't have to take away your sense of self. There are simple steps Mary and you can take to keep your mind sharp. First, start with the basics. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Your brain needs rest to process and store memories. Second, challenge your mind regularly. Read a new book, do a crossword puzzle, or learn something new. Stay socially active. Having deep conversations with others keeps your brain engaged. And, of course, nourish your body with the right foods, those rich in omega-3s, antioxidants, and vitamins that support brain health. When Mary realized she could make small changes in her daily routine, she felt a sense of relief. Her brain wasn't beyond help. It just needed a little extra care. Sometimes our minds need the quietest moments of care to keep the memories we hold most dear. Frank, 69, had always been the first to sign up for the neighborhood tennis matches. His friends called him the Energizer because no matter how much time passed, Frank was always the one sprinting down the court, quick and agile. But something started to change in the last year. One day, after a long walk in the park, he felt a slight stiffness in his knees. Probably nothing, he thought, shaking it off. But soon, that little stiffness turned into something bigger. The next time he bent down to tie his shoes, his knees felt like they were locked in place. Every step became a reminder that his body wasn't responding like it used to. At first he tried ignoring it, thinking it was just the cold weather or maybe a bad night's sleep. But as the days went by, the pain didn't just stay. It started taking over. Frank began to dread standing up. This can't be happening, he thought, his once carefree movements now slowing down. Now, think about the last time you felt that stiffness. Maybe it was in your knees, your back, or your shoulders. It doesn't start with a warning. At first, it's barely noticeable. Just a little stiffness here, a dull ache there. But then you begin to realize this isn't just a passing thing. As we age, our joints lose their flexibility, and the cartilage that once cushioned our movements starts to wear away. The synovial fluid that lubricates the joints begins to decrease, and before we know it, what used to be a smooth, fluid movement becomes a stiff, sometimes painful task. But the true impact goes beyond just the physical discomfort. For Frank, it's not just his knees aching. It's the sense that the active, free-spirited version of himself is slipping away piece by piece. And that's the hardest part. It's not just about the body, but about what it means emotionally when the things that brought us joy, like running, playing, or simply moving freely, become harder and harder to do. David, 68, was the kind of guy who could sleep through anything. A heavy snore, a barking dog, even the loudest thunderstorms. Nothing disturbed his deep, restful slumber. He'd wake up feeling fully refreshed, ready to conquer the day. But lately, his nights have been different. No matter how tired he was, sleep seemed just out of reach. He would toss and turn, stare at the ceiling, and finally drift off only to wake up multiple times during the night. When the morning came, he felt like a zombie, grumpy, sluggish, and disconnected from his usual energetic self. He tried everything, cutting down on caffeine, drinking warm milk, even taking long walks to tire himself out. Nothing worked. He felt like his once peaceful nights had been replaced by endless, restless hours. Do you ever feel like this? Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wishing for the sleep that once came so easily? That's the power of poor sleep. Its effects ripple through the rest of your life. Lack of sleep doesn't just make you tired. It affects your mood, your energy, and even your mental clarity. And while sleep disruptions are often brushed off as a normal part of aging, they can point to something more serious. Sharon, 70, had always been calm in the storm. Whether it was managing her household, taking care of her garden, or staying connected with her friends, she always seemed unruffled. But recently, the pressures of life have started to pile up. The bills, the never-ending to-do lists, the constant noise of the world outside. Sharon felt the weight of it all. She started noticing that her shoulders were tight and sore, and she couldn't seem to relax, even when she was sitting still. At night, she would lie awake, her mind racing with thoughts of everything she had to do. The peaceful woman she once was had become a bundle of stress, and her body was starting to show it. Can you relate? Stress has a sneaky way of creeping up on you. You may think you're managing, but over time it takes a toll, physically and emotionally. Sharon's tight shoulders, headaches, and restless nights weren't just symptoms of aging. They were a result of unmanaged stress. It's easy, isn't it, to tell yourself, it's just age. I'm getting older. It's normal. Frank did the same thing for months, brushing off his discomfort as just part of life. And many of us do the same. We laugh it off, chalking it up to a long day or an off-weather day. But when we dismiss it, we're missing something important. Joint stiffness isn't just a symptom of aging. It's a sign from your body asking for attention. By ignoring the small signs, you might miss out on opportunities to manage it before it gets worse. And, more importantly, you miss the chance to feel good again. The longer we wait, the more these quiet aches can limit our movement and our joy. For Frank, every time he felt that stiffness, he wasn't just reminded of his knees. He was reminded of everything he used to do. That tennis match he'd never miss, now it felt out of reach. His morning jog, unthinkable. What's worse, it wasn't just his body he felt disconnected. It was his spirit. The frustration of not being able to do the things he loved began to drain him emotionally. And with each passing day, he felt like he was losing a part of himself. It wasn't just about moving, it was about living, about feeling free in his own skin. It was the silent kind of isolation that starts with a stiff knee, but settles into your heart. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to stay this way. Frank doesn't need to give up on tennis or walking. He just needs to adjust his approach. He can start by gently stretching every morning. Nothing drastic. Just a little routine to keep the joints moving. Walking, but at his own pace, and gradually increasing it. He can even try swimming. No impact, just smooth, easy movement to keep those joints in motion. Strengthening exercises like yoga or Pilates can help too, offering flexibility and building muscle to take the pressure off his joints. If Frank starts paying attention to these small yet impactful steps, he might find himself feeling better in ways he never imagined. And most importantly, it's never too late to care for your body. It's not about pushing harder. It's about moving smarter. Sometimes it's not the body that needs to heal. It's the spirit that must be reminded that the joy of movement is always within reach. Lena, 74, was the family's superhero. She was the one who always held the fort, caring for her grandchildren, keeping her garden pristine, and making sure everything ran smoothly. Life never got her down. She'd always laugh through the small aches and pains that came with age. But recently, something shifted. It started with a dull ache in her shoulders, a pain she couldn't shake off, no matter how many hot baths or stretches she tried. At first, it seemed like just another minor inconvenience. It's probably from carrying the groceries, she'd tell herself, but it didn't stop. It grew worse. It was as if her body was quietly telling her something's not right. The ache grew stronger, spreading to her neck and back. Her garden, her sanctuary, suddenly felt out of reach, and her hands, once able to pull weeds without a second thought, now struggled to hold the tools. She felt defeated, disconnected from the vibrant life she once led. How many of us can relate to Lena? That nagging pain that just won't go away. At first, it's easy to ignore, chalk it up to getting older. But when you stop and think about it, is that really the case? A small discomfort here or there might be trying to tell us something bigger, something we've learned to ignore, but shouldn't. For Lena, this pain didn't just affect her body, it drained her emotionally. Every time she tried to pick up her knitting needles or bend to tend her flowers, she was reminded that something precious was slipping away. It wasn't just about the pain, it was about the activities that once brought her joy, which were now becoming too painful to enjoy. She started avoiding family gatherings because lifting her grandchildren became too much of a strain. The frustration was building, and it was becoming harder to ignore. But here's the thing. This doesn't have to be the end of the road for Lena. It's not too late to turn things around. It's never too late to take charge of your body and give it the care it deserves. There are simple steps Lena can take. Gentle stretches, regular warm-up routines, and muscle-releasing techniques can help. Even a quick massage or heat therapy can reduce that stiff, painful feeling. David, 68, was the kind of guy who could sleep through anything. A heavy snore, a barking dog, even the loudest thunderstorms. Nothing disturbed his deep, restful slumber. He'd wake up feeling fully refreshed, ready to conquer the day. But lately, his nights have been different. No matter how tired he was, sleep seemed just out of reach. He would toss and turn, stare at the ceiling, and finally drift off only to wake up multiple times during the night. When the morning came, he felt like a zombie, grumpy, sluggish, and disconnected from his usual energetic self. He tried everything, cutting down on caffeine, drinking warm milk, even taking long walks to tire himself out. Nothing worked. He felt like his once peaceful nights had been replaced by endless, restless hours. Do you ever feel like this? Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wishing for the sleep that once came so easily? That's the power of poor sleep. Its effects ripple through the rest of your life. Lack of sleep doesn't just make you tired. It affects your mood, your energy, and even your mental clarity. And while sleep disruptions are often brushed off as a normal part of aging, they can point to something more serious. Sharon, 70, had always been calm in the storm. Whether it was managing her household, taking care of her garden, or staying connected with her friends, she always seemed unruffled. But recently, the pressures of life have started to pile up. The bills, the never-ending to-do lists, the constant noise of the world outside. Sharon felt the weight of it all. She started noticing that her shoulders were tight and sore, and she couldn't seem to relax, even when she was sitting still. At night, she would lie awake, her mind racing with thoughts of everything she had to do. The peaceful woman she once was had become a bundle of stress, and her body was starting to show it. Can you relate? Stress has a sneaky way of creeping up on you. You may think you're managing, but over time it takes a toll, physically and emotionally. Sharon's tight shoulders, headaches, and restless nights weren't just symptoms of aging. They were a result of unmanaged stress.